So today we'll see what is VB editor. So yesterday we saw why this VBA is required, what is it, what are the advantages, disadvantages. We discussed all these things. Now where are we really going to write these macros? Now that place is known as VB editor or Visual Basic Editor. Now how to open that window? Let me show you that. There are three different methods you can go to that VB editor. Either if you have this developer tab enabled, just go there and click on Visual Basic. This will take you to the VB editor. This is method one. Another method is you could right click on any sheet tab and you see view code over here. When you click on it, this will also take you to this VB editor. Let me go back. There is a shortcut as well. Alt F11 is the shortcut key. So Alt F11 again, if you press it again, it will take you back to the same Excel workbook. Now suppose you don't have this developer tab. I'll show you how to enable it. It is available in all versions of Excel, so don't fear. You need to right click on any part of the ribbon. So you need to say customize the ribbon here. Okay. So you will have this developer tab option unchecked over here. So you just need to select it and say OK. So that tab will appear here. Fine. So let me get back to this. See, developer tab, once it is enabled, you can go here, again click on Visual Basic, and this will take you to Visual Basic Editor. Now once you enter this window, so you actually don't see these screens. So it will look like this, something like this. Only the menu bars are displayed here. Now this is your Visual Basic Editor window. Okay. Now there is an exhaustive list of options in every menu provided here. I have provided the details of these options in detail in my study material. I'll be sharing that with you guys. So you can go through what each option does. Okay, it's a very exhaustive list for each menu. You could be going through that. So I'll just tell you what are the important things that you have to concentrate currently. Fine. So there is a window known as Project Explorer. So how to get it done? Go to View. You have that over here, Project Explorer. You select this, it will appear here. There is a shortcut for this as well. You can use Control R and you will get this Project Explorer window. This is something like your Windows Explorer, where you have all the drives mentioned there, and within the drives you have this separate folders and files. So this Project Explorer is arranged in a similar way. You can see here. So you have VBA project book 1. I haven't saved my workbook. So it does just shows me that it is book 1. That's the default name of the project. Now if you save it with a name, whatever name you provide to your workbook will be a project name as well. And when you expand it, see, it allows you to expand and collapse. Now it will show you all the objects that belong to this project. Now what do I mean by objects? See, you have the sheet name given here. So let me add few more sheets to it. Let me go back to that Visual Basic Editor. So you can see here all those sheets that you have included in this workbook, everything will be displayed over here. Along with that, you also see this workbook. Not only this, you will be adding few more things: user form and a general module, class module. So there are so many things that we'll be learning in the further classes. So you will be able to see all those things in the Project Explorer. And you have to remember one thing over here. This VB editor is common to any number of workbooks kept open. Now currently I have kept open only one book. Now let me open another workbook and just add another workbook. Let me go back to this VB editor. See, you will see book 2 over here. So you could have kept open 100 files. So for all the 100 files, you see only one Project Explorer, one Visual Basic editor. So there are no separate editors for each Excel file that you have. So this thing you have to remember. And we have another important window known as Properties window. Now let me close that book too. I'll just close this book too and go back to this. See, we have another window known as Properties window. F4 is the shortcut key to get this, or you could also go to View tab and get this from here, Properties window. And see, when you select any object in the Project Explorer, or let's say you have a user form design and in that you have selected some object. So any active object that is present in the editor which you are currently working on, it will display the properties for all of them. So you have the properties for sheet 2 mentioned over here. And you have these two types to view, categorized and alphabetic. Alphabetic would have arranged the property names in the alphabetic order. You could also look at these same properties category wise. So like this. Okay. So you can make changes to these properties if you wish to. And this properties window, as I said, will display me only the properties of the current object that I have selected. Now suppose I have selected multiple objects. It will display me only the options that are common to all the objects and also the properties of the first object that you have selected in that group. So based on that, it will list out. So whatever changes that you want to make to that group of objects, you could be doing that over there in the properties window. Now where exactly we are going to write a program then? That is known as code window. To get it, F7 is the shortcut key, or you could also go to view. You can choose this code window. So this will display me the code window. Here is the place where exactly you're going to write your macros. The code window is the one. And again, so I missed on this Project Explorer. See, you have these options to view it in different ways. You could also get this code window by selecting one of the objects. Just click on this view code. This will also get you the code window. And suppose you want to see it the object wise, it will take you to this object. See, sheet 2 is the object that I had selected. To see that, it is taking me to the Excel. And it will also let you toggle folders. So if you have too many modules and such sheets present over here, you want to toggle between the folders, let's say, you will be able to do that over here. So that is the advantage of these three options that are provided to us. And as I said, this is your code window. There is another window known as immediate window. So currently you don't have to worry about it as long as you're you know, not going to some complex programs. You don't have to worry about it. This immediate window is very helpful for immediate execution of statement of code that we provide. Check the variable value immediately at the runtime, and you could also print some variable values in the immediate window at the runtime to see those what exactly it is providing us. So currently don't break your head about this immediate window. Okay, so I'm just telling you what is available here. The next thing, you have two components in this view, the view code, that is code window. Now what is it? You have two drop downs here. When you select the first drop down, this first drop down is the object drop down. It lets me choose the object that I want or which is currently present. So we have general and we have worksheet over here. Now when I choose a worksheet, see it is an object and I have so many things regarding that. All the events associated with that object will be visible to me over here. Now if I choose general, okay, in general, it will only show me the various macros that I have written here. So it will give me the list of macro names that I have in. So only when I choose a particular object, it will show me its events over here. If it is not an object, if I have selected general, it will show me the list of macro names that I have written in this particular window. It's more or less like a notepad, but you get to see some change in the color of the text. If it is a keyword, if it is a comment, if it is an error, you see some different colors of text here. But more or less it is same like your notepad to type in. So this is where exactly you're going to type your macros. So that is about your Visual Basic editor. Now if I have to write the macros, so there is another important thing that I should be knowing, that is known as object hierarchy. The object hierarchy is a pyramid, I can say. It is a kind of a detailed address to reach an object. So why am I stressing more on object here? See, VBA is an object oriented programming language. So the meaning of that is, now whatever you consider here, it could be an Excel application, this worksheet, cells within this, chart, image, shape, all these are objects only. Now if I have to use the VBA code to change something in my Excel file, I have to be able to reach that part of the document only. So how is that possible? Now suppose I want to change the value of D10 present in sheet 2. So I need to again provide a detailed address to reach that particular cell. Now what is that address? First is your Excel application. Within my Excel application, I have opened the workbook. The name of the workbook is book 1 currently. And within that book 1, I have to go to sheet 2. And within sheet 2, I have to reach D10 cell. Now this is your object hierarchy. You should be knowing this object hierarchy in order to write your code. This is very, very important. Now let me show you that object hierarchy so that you'll have a better understanding. You see, as I said, all those objects have these things in common. Now if I say a sheet has got properties, methods, and events. Shape has got properties, methods, and events. So likewise, you refer to any object in the application, all that has got properties, methods, and events. Only then it is known as an object. Now, you got to know what is an object. Now, object model, as I said, is a hierarchy that is kept like this. Now, currently we are trying to understand the object hierarchy of Excel application. See, the hierarchy will differ based on the application. Now, if it is a PowerPoint that I am trying to write the VBA macro for, then the hierarchy is completely different there. So the at the top you will have PowerPoint application, next you will have presentation. Within presentation you might be having some text placeholder, image placeholder. So the objects will change there. Based on the application, the objects will change. Currently, we are trying to know the object hierarchy of Excel application. So within Excel application, if you have to access any object and perform some changes using that, then you need to know this object hierarchy. So first thing, as I said, is your application, then comes the workbook, then comes worksheet. So this worksheet can be containing so many other things. Now that is shapes, ranges, your cells and charts, so many more like this. Now again, for this particular cell, so even a single cell in VBA is referred to as range only. Okay. So if you consider range, what exactly of that particular object do you want to change? Whether it's font, border, interior, its value, or you want to cut, your copy, you want to paste. So these are the different things that you can perform using it. Now currently this font, border and interior they are deal with the description of that particular object. So they come under this properties of an object. Now, as I said, an object has got properties, methods, and events. Properties are those which lets you describe that object. Now, suppose you have a phone. So you will describe it in many ways. So which model it is, what color it is, and what is its capacity, which processor, what is the camera configuration. So all these things you will list out just to describe that object. In the same manner, you consider any object here, it has got something to be described about. All those come under the properties. Now suppose I'll take the cell itself. So in within cell, so I can describe it by its address. It has got an address, it has got a value is the content of that cell. It has got font, and again you have border. So many things like this can be used to describe that particular object, to identify it. So in the same manner, we can also perform some actions using the object. Now let me take the same cell example. And if you can cut the cell, insert cell, delete cell, copy it, paste the cells. So any action that you perform using that object, all those are known as methods. And very few objects have got events as well. Now suppose let me say this worksheet. Now when you open a worksheet, or in apt way to say, it is activating. So this activating is an event. An action that causes something is known as event. It triggers something. So when I click on a sheet, it activates it. So that causes an event there. The next, you have this workbook open event, let's say, or double click or select the cells. So I have so many things like this. All these are known as events. So few of them have, few don't have. So few of them have very less events. So you will be learning these events in the later part. So we have a separate chapter to deal with it. Okay. So this was about the object hierarchy. And as I said, so whatever I explained, they have given the same examples over here. So you have properties, so how exactly you can change them. And they have classified these properties into two different types: read write and read only. Read write are the properties which you can change, just like you can change the name of a sheet, or cell content, or the color of the cell. So those things are read write properties. You can set some values to it. And read only, there is a property of that kind as well, which you can only access it, nothing to be changed. So that is read only. The method, as I said, an action that you can perform using that object. So you can select, cut, copy, paste, insert, delete. You have a huge list here. All these come under methods. And events. So as I said, it occurs, it triggers something. So those things are known as events. Okay, so here they have taken an example of workbook opening. Anyways, I'll be sharing these materials with you. Now, if this was about your object model or object hierarchy to be precise. So now that we are clear about the object hierarchy, now let me tell you how to understand the macros. So where exactly you're going to write your macros and how it is going to differ based on the location you write. So there are 5 different modules available in VBA for us. Where exactly are you going to write the macros? They are known as modules. So let me show you what are the different types of modules that we have. Now you can right click on the project explorer and use the insert command over here, or you could also insert modules from the insert menu here. See, I can take module. So this is your general module. See, these modules are the locations where you're going to write your program. I'll tell you after showing each module over here. So I've inserted a general module. Now let's say I'll insert use a form module. It shows a blank form for me. Again, I also have a class module over here. We also have other 2 modules. They are your sheet modules and workbook module. These are the 5 different types of modules that are available in VBA for us. Fine. See, in this, again, your general module or standard module is the most commonly used one. So it is more or less like a folder which keeps so all the files are organized in it. So this can contain any number of macros you write. Okay, and this general module, you can see when you are in this general module, see, to identify in which module you are currently, you just look at the title bar. It will show you the module name and it shows that you are in the code of that particular module. Now if I type writing uh, start typing the macros in this module, so it will be like a file storage. So all the macros that I have typed here will be arranged in that module. It will be storing that module. It's just like a folder. It's acting like a folder here. So general module is for that purpose. You could keep writing macros and you could store it there. And you can insert any number of general modules you want. And in the general module, you have to make an observation here. You don't have any object displayed, neither any events. Only in general module it is like this. Okay, and based on the number of macros that you write, it will list all the macros that you have written in this particular module. So there is no separate object visible here. This is for your general or standard module only. Now suppose I'll show you a sheet module or a worksheet module. When you double click on it, you'll again see sheet 1 code here. You are currently writing in sheet 1. Let's say it is indicating that. You look at the object drop down, you get to see worksheet, and you also have a list of events belonging to that particular worksheet. Now, these sheet modules are known as event-based modules. There is workbook module as well. You double click on this workbook, it will display me the code window for that particular module. And you can see here when you select this, all the events pertaining to this particular object. So object here is workbook. All events for that particular object are listed here. You could be using any of these events to write the macro. So this worksheet and workbook module are also known as event-based modules because you could be writing macros which will be executed only when that particular event occurs. So for the macros that you write in a worksheet or a workbook, It is very much necessary for that event to take place. Only when the event take place, you will be able to see that the macro has executed. Otherwise, no. Okay, so that was about standard worksheet and workbook. Now, there is one more important thing that I have to remind you here. You could be having any number of worksheet modules, but for one single Excel file, you have only one workbook module. You cannot have multiple workbook modules. There is only one workbook module, but you could be having n number of general modules, user forms, sheets. So all these modules can be in multiple numbers, but workbook module is a single one. And let me show you this user form module. So when you open a user form module, this is how it displays. It's a blank form, and it also provides you a toolbox, which is having a list of controls here. The controls like button, command button, label, text box, option button, checkbox, these things. You will be using these controls and designing the form to receive input from the user. So you can create custom user forms using VBA, code them accordingly, and you could use the same to receive input from the users there. So this particular module, the user form module, is mainly used for designing an interface for your users. Okay. So next is class module. So this class module is used for creating any new object. You want to create a different object. You want to provide your own properties and methods to it. You want to assign something new to it. So then you are going to use this class module. Otherwise, this class module is not required as of now. Currently, you could be working with the other four modules that I said. The class module is to create new objects and assign properties and methods of your own to it. And for that, we require this class module. Now that we saw we could insert the modules, let me show you how to remove it as well. Just right click on any module that you want to remove. So we have remove here, click on it. So it will ask you whether you want to export it so that you will have a copy of it before removing it from this project. So I don't require any copy of it. I'll just say no. So you could do the same for other modules as well. Except the sheet and the workbook. So you could do it for your general modules like this. So you could remove it like this. So it's gone. So you have to keep in mind these 5 modules that we have, and what are the importance, where exactly you write it and when you write it. All your general macros. So let's say you want to copy paste something, you want to write a code to generate reports, insert a chart, insert a pivot table. So all these things you can provide it in a general module. Now, when you have something specific to happen based on an event, which should work involuntarily without your interference. So, I can give you an example of our Excel material. See, as soon as you open our Excel material, you might have seen it goes to a particular sheet, the title sheet only it will open, irrespective of which sheet you worked at the end. So, usually, what happens with Excel applications is whichever sheet you worked before closing that file. So it will always open in the same sheet. Now I could write a macro in such a way that every time the file is opened, it should open from a particular sheet only, or it should display a particular sheet only. I could write a macro like that. But this should happen immediately after I open that particular file. I should not be asking the user to click some button or select something to make it happen. So I could be writing this in the open event of the workbook. I just gave you an example of the event based module. So form, I said you will be creating your own custom forms to receive input from the user. Let's say you can always rely on user forms, and it gives you a huge options to customize it the way you want, and it is a really good feature. You could also apply validations in the user input. Now suppose I have a text box to receive input of the mobile number, let's say. I can apply some validation on it, saying it should be a numerical value only, it should be 10 digits only. So these kind of validations we can provide in the user form, and it is a really good feature to collect information. For these kind of things you can always go for user form. So class module, as I said, it is to create something new which isn't there at the time of execution. You want to create an object, and that object you want to provide some properties and methods. So for those things you will go for this class module. Fine. So I'll stop this session here today. So tomorrow we'll start writing the macros. Okay, just